Without objection, the committee stands adjourned.
Okay, I think technically I'm not supposed to say anything until everyone's been escorted out. I'm kidding. Anyway, so that was the hearings for today, and that's actually the hearings for this week and this month. As we're going to get to in a few minutes, they will be resuming in several weeks at the very least. It's going to be some kind of wait, and we get to debate if that's actually a good strategy, how likely that is to actually bear, consequential fruit. And I want to summarize just a little bit. So today's been basically all about the DOJ. Trump tried to pressure different groups of people. They had a day focused on pressuring the vice president, a day trying to focused on trying to pressure the state-level election officials, Raffensperger and others in multiple states, and here we get to focus on pressuring the DOJ. This was, of the three, I think it was the second likeliest to have worked. It should have seemingly been easiest to get Pence on his side. I think the big issue that he ran up against with that is that whether Pence wanted to help him or not, and it seems that Pence didn't, to his credit, there was nothing he could actually do. Like, what would he have been able to do? Just set fire to the ballots? Oh, now it's gone. He couldn't have quick eaten it like he was in Always Sunny. That wouldn't have worked. On the other hand, pressuring the DOJ, that too could have worked. He'd spent several years surrounding himself with yes men. And so I think it's more to their credit that they fought against this. Because it would have been more expected for Pence. It's easier. In this case, though, they could have actually, in theory, done something. I'm not saying that they could have overturned the results of the election, but they could have started all sorts of sham investigations. They could have put out statements. I mean, look what Barr did in advance of the Mueller report coming out. Something like that could have happened, but they were willing to step down, and that is to their credit. In terms of what was revealed today, there were definitely some good quotes. I mean, Brett, focused on one. We've got the reminder of the murder-suicide pact that had come up about a year ago, but it's good to remind people of that. And so, if the idea is that they want to generate a bunch of headlines, get people focused on what happened, I think the substance is here. Hopefully, they'll focus on that. There were certainly the quotes necessary to create bombshell headlines. That's there. That's true. To me, I will say, having covered a couple of days ago the testimony of Shay Moss and Lady Ruby, like, I'm personally more affected by the fact that this campaign jeopardized the lives and potentially, irreparably harm the lives of so many different people. I have more baked in sympathy for those people than for Republican, conservative members of the DOJ. But I'm glad that they did the right thing. It is good to whatever extent possible, make sure that people know that the effort to stop Trump from doing this was and is bipartisan. If bipartisanship is something that you value, that is here. I mean, the fact that they have flanked Benny Thompson with two Republicans, at least technically Republicans, most Republicans at this phase of the game don't accept them, is a good thing. And having as many of the witnesses as possible be Republicans would be great. As people were pointing out at the end, would be amazing to have Mike Pence testify. It's not looking like that's going to happen. Now, earlier today, Mo Brooks, following his primary loss, he announced that he would be willing to work with the January 6th commission now. I don't know, like, Mo Brooks was involved in this, as you saw. Mo Brooks was involved in that effort to get the pardons. So that could be helpful. It is almost certain that he's spoken with Donald Trump. He's spoken with Pence, so he can testify to that. The fact that the dude had to lose his primary before he is willing to help out, though, there is going to be a very low ceiling for how much credit I'm going to give him for that. Man, you waited late in the game. You waited a year and a half into the big lie. You waited a couple months past when you were at least telling crowds that they need to move on from it a little bit. You waited until after he reneged on his endorsement, and then you actually had to lose before you're willing to help. That doesn't just make me have less respect for him. It also, I'm trying to debate what effect that'll have on Republican interpretations of, let's say he were to come out and testify. He stayed loyal for a long time, but over the past few months, he looks even more ridiculous. I mean, Trump will find it a very easy job to attack the guy in a way that his base is going to find very satisfying, I think. So we'll see if Mo Brooks is actually helpful at all. Really fast, I want to talk about the closing statements there and a little bit of what they said along the way. Betty Thompson, obviously, he's not necessarily going to set fire to the place or whatever, but I thought he did a very good job of, in a measured way, a way that people associate with chairman of these sorts of events, laying out what was said, reminding people of the stakes, and also reminding them of the key findings. That was good. There was a little bit of nice sarcasm from Liz Cheney. I appreciated that. It's good that she gets in a few good hits before she's run out of the Republican Party in just a little bit. And in terms of Kinzinger, I think many people will be quite satisfied with Kinzinger. I like what he has to say. I do have to, I guess, I mean, we have to acknowledge that aside from these issues having to do with Trump and the election, he's still terrible. And maybe it's just me. Let me know if you think that I'm in a bubble or whatever. Even when what he was saying about the members of the DOJ that had testified, as he was summing up what they had said, everything that he was saying in terms of the words was fine, but he has that slimy politician thing. And that's why I want to get to, someone had mentioned how great would it have been if Bernie had been involved, which, obviously that would have been great. Now, in this case, we're talking about the House side of things, but Kinzinger is perfectly fine on the substance in this area. That said, imagine if you had like an AOC or like a Katie Porter or someone who could, I don't know, speak with a little bit more authenticity, a little bit more passion, a little bit more emotion that reads as honest. Again, maybe I'm in a bubble. Maybe other people listen to Kinzinger and they think, oh no, that's a guy that really believes this. This is his true heart. He's laying bare his true soul. I don't know. To me, I can't necessarily do that. I might agree with what he's saying, but I can, always wish for more in terms of the delivery of it. I want to make sure that we don't miss any more of the substance. I mean, no one had a worse day today than Clarkey. I mean, that guy went from a little bit more than a year and a half ago, about to be the guy who could maybe help secure another term for Trump, to a guy who's just dragged before the nation. No, he hadn't been qualified. Look, he was hardly the only person that Trump put in positions of great responsibility that weren't qualified for it. This was one of the most nakedly power grabby options in this particular case, but he had been willing to do that before. He'd been willing to do that specifically with the DOJ before. I mean, the whole incident with Comey was about this. It's his willingness to take out someone who is not giving him what he wants and replace them with a toady, someone whose only qualification is that. Jeff says, I think it's brilliant to use Kinzinger and Cheney as weapons against Trump. They're Republicans, so they're ruthless. Using weapons forged for evil for good instead is a good thing. I do like that. Although you sound a little bit like Boromir. Why shouldn't we use it? I'm kidding. Yeah, of course, them being Republicans will be persuasive to a certain variety of Republicans and no more at this point. The well has been thoroughly poisoned for many modern day Trumpian Republicans when it comes to Kinzinger and Cheney. But I'm perfectly happy to have them. Like, I'm being a little bit critical of his smarminess or oiliness or whatever. I'm not saying, destroy the guy or anything like that. Anyway, yeah, people. So I am shocked. Is John under some kind of iguana heat lamp? Well, and John is grape flavored today, Huffle Badger. So basically what's going on is this monitor is supposed to be on. There's some sort of issue with it. So the only light you're getting is off of these blue lights. And I look like I lost another bet with Sabrina. So nobody wants that. Anyway, the last thing I want to talk about is where we go from here. And where we go from here is to twiddle our thumbs for a few weeks, because they've made some decisions that sort of make sense, I think. They sure made us wait for this hearing, but now it's here, and having it be that much closer to the midterms, that they would have pitched that as nakedly partisan, whatever. That's fine. They did like that first night in prime time. I'm a little bit surprised that they didn't do more of it during prime time. I mean, maybe they couldn't lock down the coverage, but I feel like you got a lot of viewers off of that first day. You probably could have done that more, but now we have to wait. We had some good stuff. You know, some great testimony, powerful emotional stuff in some cases, revelatory stuff. I was worried going into this first round of hearings that they would not have anything more. There have been so many leaks, but that's not the case. We did find out a good bit. I mean, even all the stuff about the attempt to get the pardons that was just dropped at the end here. That was good stuff. Big names. Matt Gaetz was implicated there, and Marjorie Greene and Mo Brooks and a bunch of people. But now we have to wait. And the risk there is, you know, will it be worth it? If they use that time to cull through whatever the new evidence is that they've got, the documentary footage or whatever, or, you know, people coming forward, they said that some people now want to tell the truth. Okay, so maybe now they can line up testimony with witnesses that they couldn't have gotten before. That's fine. Maybe this break is totally necessary to make sure that they structure it well and that they get all their ducks in a row. But in waiting a few weeks, you risk a couple of things. One, people losing interest. That's totally true. On the other hand, the exact inverse of that, building up expectations for it. If you're now saying, oh my God, we've got some stuff. We need a few weeks, everybody. Chill out. We'll be back. Like, I can only speak for myself. Let me know what you think. But I want something big. And so a little bit of that documentary footage was released by CNN. I don't know if you saw that earlier today. It was like 30 seconds of it or whatever. And I watched it and there was nothing in it. I know that it's just a tease or whatever, but like even a tease is supposed to have something. When they tease books that are coming out, they release one of the juicy details. So it's possible that nothing is going to come of that documentary. It's possible that a lot of this testimony won't work. They could even maybe get trolled. There could be one of these Trumpian people who was like, you know what, I've had a change of heart. I want to be a part of the solution now. And then gets in there and just tries to score points with Trump or something. So there is a little bit of risk there. Jeff points out the news cycle isn't as manic as it was under Trump. That's true. It's still pretty manic, though. It's not as manic, but a little bit of the daily insanity and absurdity of Trump has been replaced by some of his acolytes in the House. So anyway, what do I know? I'm an idiot. They're going to look through the evidence. Maybe they've got this thing totally competent. They're going to put together a really fascinating set of hearings in July. That's entirely possible. And I hope for our nation's sake that is true. And I hope, more importantly, that regardless of what they find, they get off their ass and actually put some direct pressure on the DOJ. This should not be all like, okay, let's do all these hearings. And I hope Merrick Garland is watching. Like, you're in a position to do something about this. So actually do that. This is not fun and games.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.